Well, we used to have room in the shop. A bunch of things come in to sharpen and taking up all the floor. Can't wait to get at these. These will be fun to sharpen. But we're going to go upstairs, gonna do a bandsaw blade. Hello, Willie.
Hey.
Sorry about the camera moving around, but we're gonna go upstairs and run a bandsaw blade for a job tomorrow. Let's see your way through the house here. I have to bring all those trimmers in here and come up with a setup to sharpen them in here. Sorry, the lights aren't on, but day in the life. Just picked up a bunch of diesel for tomorrow. And I know it's kind of dark, but going upstairs, run this blade or band. I hate that bad terminology. Bandsaw band. This one right here. Because we've got oak to run tomorrow for trailer decking. Let's see, I got my wife's new electric raisable computer desk here that I haven't put together because they damaged the walnut top for it. And the wife's just like, well, we'll just make a top for it. Yep, we will. But I'd like to get all the parts that I paid for, so waiting on that. And anyway, we're going to run this blade. We're going to run this band. Nobody's sleeping in the house right now. It's already been set. Try to get you guys set up. I apologize for all the camera moving around, but this is what happens. Now, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this whole band. I can tell you that proof of concept wise, this sharpening system works great. I've already run a bunch of wood through the mill. And what we are doing is working perfectly. Gonna get some light going in the background here, see if I can get some pointed off in some other direction, but I want you to be able to see. And we'll have a little Saturday discussion about the ways of the world and what's going on, and maybe the bandsaw business here. Let me, while I get you on, make sure you guys aren't in my way while I get this set up. We'll do some discussion about, I don't know, anything that's going on. So one thing that I can see is that my wheel is a little unbalanced. I'm not going to fix it right now because my primary goal right now is just to get it set up for sharpening today. If you're not into sharpening and things like that, you probably want to sign off right now because this is probably going to get a little bit long and might not be your thing. If you're into sharpening and sawmills and the ways of the world, then by all means hang out and we'll have a discussion, talk about some things. So what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up the tooth at the weld, because the weld ends up different than the rest of the band. And also, I am checking out the gullet profile, seeing if anything needs to be ground off. Now, I'll get you down here for a second and just show you, after I grind this one tooth, when I get into the next one, I'll show you what I'm dealing with, because I think, oh, that's good there. No, I was just going to say, I think this needs to be ground, and actually I don't think it does. So we're going to grind this one tooth at the weld, and I'm going to make sure that it's painted up good so I can see it when it comes back. And then on the back side, just so I can kind of see my progress as I go around. Show you how long this whole thing takes, because one of the things about doing this is that you got to make a decision when you set up your sharpening system of what way you're going to go and how much you're going to spend when you do it, which I think is going to be part of our discussion today, is how much it costs to get into this game. Right now I'm sharpening right down the tooth. Now I'm going to run them at 7 degrees. We're going to check out that this one tooth to see how that all went. I'm going to run one on a normal tooth, because these teeth that are at the weld seam aren't normal, if that makes sense. Their spacing isn't normal. Let's see how this one's going to come down. This one's pretty close. We're going to try this one really quick. So it's just barely hitting the face of the tooth. I'm going to try a couple more, just make sure the spacing is enough. Let's see what that looks like. Now I can see, I don't have my good glasses on, but I can see, all right, sharpen the face of this tooth well, because I can feel the burr. This tooth didn't really do a great job on this one. I'm going to set this back one tooth. And I apologize for this. It doesn't take this long. I'm going to resharpen this tooth. What I can see is, see if I can get you guys over here for a second. If you look at the tooth, hold this up because it won't stay up, at the tip of my finger right here. Let me move my stool. This video is going to be all over the place, but it's important. You see the glint off the top of the tooth, right in front of my finger. See that? That tooth's not sharp. That's what that glint is. That glint is a part of the tooth that's not sharp, and I can't feel a burr on the top either. So sometimes around this weld seam, the spacing gets off. I'm just gonna make sure that. All right, I'm going to show you this from the side again. I'm going to move the camera again just so you can see it. I think I'm going to have to let this down just a hair. I'll show you that again, just so you can see it. And this is kind of important, I think. My stool's in the way again. So you can see this tooth now. That glint's gone. Make sure I get the focus in there. You see how that glint's gone in the corner. Now I have a burr all the way across the top. In here, you can see the glint here on this one, which is going to be the last tooth I sharpen. This was the band that nicked the log rest. And you can see it here. And you can see it here. And you can see it as I go around here. Get your good view. This is important, guys. You can see the glint here and here, 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 here. This is where it nicked the log rest on the bottom. So if you imagine this band's traveling that way, and the log rest was on the bottom, and it just barely nicked it, but you can see the damage that it did to the teeth on the bottom, even though it just barely nicked it. So you have to make sure when you sharpen that that damage is gone. So I've done this tooth, and I've done this tooth. Right here, these two. I know this is getting, this is going to get long, but it's important that when we sharpen, that we get sharp. Now, this one that I just did, cleaned out the whole gullet. And we're going to get rolling on this. I hate the fact that it gets long, but we're going to check out the first few here. promised that we're going to get into a little discussion here, because what I'm doing right now is important too. I can see the glint off the teeth that are facing towards me. And there's no glint on the teeth that are still away. Also, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm cleaning out the entire gullet, and right now what I'm seeing, that's how little I'm nicking the front of the tooth right there. I want to make sure that I'm cleaning out the whole gullet, and if I need to get the profile reprofiled before I get too far. And that's it. It's hitting all the way through the whole stone. Yeah, it's hitting all the way through the whole stone. So we're gonna keep going. Then we're gonna have a little sawmilling talk. I want to show you how fast it goes. The rest just moved, so I'm gonna move it back over. I've done quite a few band blades on this now. Just want to get it set back at 0, get it really tightened up. This one's actually missing. See if I can put a little side pressure on it just to hit that teeth. And I'm making sure as I go through that on the teeth that are set towards me where I can see the glint, like this one right here. Let me show you this. sorry, it's gonna be tough, but you can see the glint right in front of my finger there of the damaged tooth. Just making sure that's gone each time that there's a tooth set towards me to get that damage fixed. You know, this isn't just set it up in a grinder and get myself faced a little bit more towards it. You know, set it up in a grinder and run through. I'll show you that tooth now. And the thing that threw me was, see that tooth now. There's no glint on the inside. There's a burr all the way across the top. This tooth has been repaired. I don't know if you can see, you know, the gullet's all ground out. So this all started with a video that I watched not too long ago, a pretty prominent channel, about their resharp system and how they sharpen their band blades. And one of the people that runs one of the mills had said that their resharp bands are never as sharp as they come new. I can promise you that doing it this way, my bands are every bit as sharp as they come new. Not only are they every bit as sharp, but there's been attention paid to each individual tooth in ways that are exceeding the manufacturer. So I know that I've shown this before, but get you over here real quick. I'll let you see down into, so you can see down into the gullets that they've all been ground out. There's some pretty good examples here, you know, how they're ground all the way to the top of the tooth. And what I do in my effort to, yeah, it's a good view, I think. In my effort to repair these bands back to usable, is that I will take my diamond hone here and I will go through when I'm done, and I will take the burr off the top of each tooth that's leaning back towards me. And this is how fast it goes. Man, I wish I had my better glasses on, but basically what I do is register this on the back of the tooth. 1, 2, 3. I will do that and then loosen it off. I want to remember where I was, so I'll loosen it off and I'll pull it like 5 or 6 teeth and then do 5 or 6 teeth and so on and so forth. And it goes pretty quick. I want to put this back to where I was. So this is the next one that has to get sharpened right here. And what that leaves is that gets rid of the burr that's leaning backwards like this over the top of the tooth and makes these, you know, super sharp. I don't know if you can see the nail just falling off these teeth. And also, because I set this band before, it grinds these teeth perpendicular to the travel of the band, which is the other side of which is important as well. Do I think you need to take this burr off every tooth? No, I don't. Let's take a look at this band. Okay, so when a company comes in and makes this band, they take a piece of steel that's, approximately, get my fingers in the right spot, about this thick, and they send this through a machine that grinds these profiles with a form tool, whatever tool they use. I would guess they're not using a rock like I'm using. They're using some sort of CBN wheel, and it grinds this shape into the band. I don't know whether they set them before or after. Well, obviously you'd have to set them after because the tooth profile wouldn't even be shaped at that point. So this goes into a machine, and this probably oil or water cooled wheel comes in and goes meh, 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 and it grinds this profile into this band. And then they set it, and then I'm guessing either they run it through again or they just leave it that way. I don't know what the truth is because I haven't been to their shops to see how they take a square or rectangular piece of steel band and grind this in. I don't know whether they do it when it's round like this. If it was me, I wouldn't. I would do them in huge batches of straight stock, run it through a machine that ground all these, probably oil cooled. And whether they grind them after or not, I don't know. But the process is that they have a form tool that's this shape, like I do now with my wheel that I've ground into that shape, that comes in and makes this shape and gives you the spacing that you have. That's a very rough and violent process. There's nothing precision about it. It is a shaping process that takes a rectangular shaped band and turns it into what you see here. Now, if it were me, I would do that early on in the process, and then I would hone the teeth after the fact so that they were super sharp. But feeling these, at how sharp they are coming off the wheel, I'm guessing they run it through once and they ship it out. That means that when you get your bands, they're all over the place. They're probably setting them after the fact. And again, that's just a guess. And if any of you guys are manufacturers out there, you can correct me if you want. But I have set these after the fact. And actually what you have to do to set them accurately is you have to go in and you have to grind the burr off the back side of that tooth so that your setter reads accurately. And I know that you can't see this, but that's all that took to take the burr off the back side of this tooth. So on this tooth right now, it's grabbing my finger. It's got a huge burr on the back side from grinding it. If I was going to set this after the fact, I would have to come in, hone that burr off. It's still there. It's pretty close to gone now. And then you can set it so that your dial indicator isn't reading off the burr, which is about 3 thousandths, I think, is the last time I checked it. So this, when it comes from the manufacturer, is going through a fairly violent process. It's taking a rectangular piece of stock, grinding it into the shape. I assume then welding a band together and shipping it out to you to run. I am doing it. This process that I'm doing here is a completely different process than what this goes through when it's new. I am honing these teeth. First, I've set them to within 1 to 2 thousandths. And now I'm grinding them sharp. on this setup by hand, no auto feed, no nothing, and making sure that each one of these teeth has been addressed. And when I throw these on my mill, they cut straight, they cut fast as I can push it through. They cut smooth. And all those things are important. And I guess the reason that I'm saying this is that I don't have an auto feed grinder here, that I'm, doing this by hand. And I don't believe that you need an auto feed grinder. I think that you could do the same thing as me and set up a grinder, profile your rock, and go through and grind this just the way I am, and what you end up with is a superior product to what comes off the manufacturing line. And again, where this all started was this comment from a sawyer at a very prominent mill saying, this is our resharpen process, but our resharpen bands never come off as sharp as they are new. Well, that's malarkey. My bands, if I can get you over here without going crazy, my bands, when they come off this sharpening system, are superior to what they are when they are manufactured. They have to be, because of the process that I'm going through. They have to be sharpened. I'm addressing every single tooth. Making sure that it's sharp. And you might say, well, that's slow. And I can see the glint on this tooth. I gotta make sure that's gone. It is gone. I am making sure that every tooth on my band is sharp and is set properly. And these are not hot. So the other thing that I hear all the time is how, well, if you do it this way, you're going to overheat them. You see my finger on that tooth. I'll do one more just to show you. This tooth is not hot. Okay, I have my fingers on it, and I want to point that out. This tooth has not been overheated. It probably takes, in all the testing and everything I've seen, it takes about 1200 degrees to change the metal properties of this tooth. You would have to heat it up red hot. This, what I'm doing, is in no way overheating this band. Even though you hear the amount of metal that I'm taking off, that sounds violent, but this tooth is not hot. I'm holding this, I'll put my pinky on it. I'm holding this with my fingers. This is not anywhere close to so hot that it's changing the properties of the metal in this tooth. It's not making it brittle. It's not making it bad. So I want to dispel some of these rumors about doing this and show you how fast this can go versus having, a self-feed sharpener, because what's more important is that you sharpen your teeth. Scoop's pretty heavily damaged. The next one, I can really see the light coming off it. And again, this is not hot. Okay, I'm holding it. So the moral of the story here is that this is a completely viable process for sharpening these. This is better, this grinding process with this wheel, this fine stone, is better than what they're sending you from the manufacturer. So I think that's really the moral of the story here, is that, you know, there's probably some people that have watched some of these videos and said, oh, look at this Yahoo with the, you know, the grinder and the shaped stone and doing it by hand and so on and so forth. But, you know, and the, you know, the little wood miser shipped out DIY setter, and, you know, I've already shown you how repeatable the setter is, and how every raker tooth is zero when you pull it through, and how it's measuring correctly, and you're setting them, you know, far more accurately than any manufacturing process. You're setting them, you know, within 1,000th as you go through. But when I run these bands on the mill, they don't just cut good, they cut perfect. They cut smooth, they cut fast, they cut perfect. So the question I still have is, how many times can I do this before this band's going to snap? I don't know. I mean, I'm still running my first 3 bands. I haven't gotten out of them yet. I got 3 bands deep, and then I said, I'm going to rotate these bands until they start to snap before I'm pulling any more new ones out. I want to know how far I can go, and I also want to see how they cut versus a new band. See what kind of waves I'm getting and dips I'm getting, and I can tell you that these cut perfect. The set is everything, you know, as well as sharp. But I want to see versus a new band, what do I get for imperfections in the surface? And if you're out production milling, I get it completely. I get it. You know, you're laughing at me right now. You're saying, oh my God, we don't have time for that. I hear that from arborists and timber fallers in the field all the time that bring the saws to me. I hear this all the time. We don't have time to do this, or we don't have time to do that. I don't have time to sharpen my saw. I don't have time to learn. I don't have time to learn how to sharpen my saw. I just take my chains out, have them ground, and I carry some in my pockets, and I go back to work. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. If you don't have time for this, maintaining your equipment, that's what this is. This is maintaining your equipment. If you don't have time for maintaining your equipment, you will fail. People that have been running big circular saw mills for generations, they replace their own teeth. They don't call somebody in. Old-time sawyers that have been doing this for years and years and years, they're sharpening their own bands. Now, some of them might have a more sophisticated sharpening system than I do, but they're sharpening their own bands. You are not going to make it if you don't understand this. This is a important to you as a sawyer, as an arborist, as a tree faller, it is important to understand what you're doing, or you're just going to be a jag. And a jag, I had to explain this to my wife the other day. What's a jag? It's just another guy. If you're a tree faller and you can be the best in the world, swinging dick, get her done, you know, dick hanging, swinging around, go out in the field, you know, hey, boss man, give me a saw. And if the boss man gives you a saw every day and you go out there and you fall, you are never going to be good at what you do if you don't understand what that saw is doing. Never. You're just another guy. You're a guy that boss man can hand any saw to, any one of them. And they do the same thing. Now, you might be able to do it faster. You might drop more timber. But you're never going to be any good at it. And that's why that is the journey that I've been through in life, is to be better at what I do than I was the day before. Not better than the next guy. That's not the battle. I'm not in, keeping tabulations of how I am versus the next guy. I'm in war with myself. That's what's missing in this world today, is I'm in war with myself to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to make my bands better than they were yesterday. I want to become better at this. I want to understand what I'm doing, whether it's falling a tree, whether it's breaking a tree down, whether it's taking the pieces that are broken down and drying them, whether it's taking those dried pieces and turning them into a kitchen table, whether it's during that process planing that wood and wanting my plane to cut better, or breaking those pieces down and wanting my saw that I'm using to break those pieces down to cut more accurately and more squarely and better. If I run a piece through the jointer, when I take it off the jointer, to make sure that my edge is square and my finish is good, to make sure that when I deliver that piece that I make to a customer, that it's better than the one that I did before. It's not about faster. It's about better. Sometimes those things go hand in hand. And this is the important part. The better that you become at something, that encompasses efficiency. That means that you're becoming faster at it by proxy. I'm new to my bandsaw mill. I've been milling lumber for years, but I'm new to my bandsaw mill. And I want to become better at sawing lumber on my bandsaw mill. Now, that doesn't mean just ripping off the worst piece of shit that I can process. That means, it means something to me that I do it better. I do it better from loading the log, cleaning the log. The process that I go through in sawing it is better. I waste less. The product that comes off that sawmill is better. The way I stack it and sticker it is better. The way I can move it around my log yard is better. The way I portray that product to a customer is better. The way the interaction that I have with the customer is better. And that the whole process gets streamlined and improves constantly. If we don't want to improve, what do we have? if we just become mundane and we just fall into the same process every day, I show up, my boss provides me with fuel, he provides me with a sawmill, I dump the fuel in, I saw away, I don't care about the waste, I don't care about the finish, I don't care if there's waves in the wood, I don't care if I roach through blades, just because when I wreck one, the boss gives me a new one. That's a shitty way to live. It really is. And you'll never be successful at it. You'll never, I guess that broaches the subject of what is success. I measure success by how many people I need to support me. When I do my job, I'm a one-man show. What I showed you early in this video out in that shop is the opposite of that. Those people that drop me off, those trimmers and stuff, they are not one-man shows. They can't support their operation. They need help to support their operation. They can't sharpen their own things. They need to bring them to somebody like me to do it for them. I'm a one-man show. I mill my own lumber and break my own lumber down, and I build what I build out of it, and I install it, and all those parts of that are me and just me. Now, are there places that I can improve in? Obviously, if you're listening to this, you understand what I'm saying is that I am constantly trying to improve. If I was going to improve in one place, I'd take my own trees down. A lot of what I have here, I've taken down. But in my log yard, where logs are constantly getting dropped off from arborists and from lumberjacks and tree fallers, if I was going to improve on my business, I'd be taking all those trees down. Now, it does bump into, obviously, everything I'm talking about right now bumps into efficiency. How many hours are there in a day? And can I do what I do and take the trees down? I could probably find a way, but it would be hard. It'd be hard. It would really depend on my business model and how I wanted to live my life. If you look at, there's a company out there, Lumber Capital Log Yard. Couple young girls that do the videos. Dad is a lumberjack. They have a log yard in Pennsylvania. They fall their own trees, saw their own lumber, they sharpen bands. They live in what they consider as a no waste mentality. I think that's great. You get these young girls out running the sawmills, which I think is terrific. They seem very good at what they do. You can make up your own minds if you watch them of their level of connectivity to the process. I think at times it's, they're going through the paces. The one that does the videos, she seems pretty invested in the company. Her younger sister seems like she's kind of spinning her wheels a little bit. And I don't say that as a slight. That's normal. That's part of everyday life. But one thing that I'm not doing is I'm not spinning my wheels. I'm living the process. And the process totally relies on me. So when I say that you're failing at what you do, if you can't do a portion of what you do, you're failing at what you do. You can be the best tree faller in the world. If you don't know how to file a saw and you just say, well, fuck it, I just buy a new chain every time, you're failing at what you do. You're failing to understand some of the basic principles of your job. You know, the tooth geometry, filing, saw maintenance. If you're an arborist and when a saw breaks, you got to take it to the steel dealer to get it fixed. You know, to a point in the way I look at things, you're failing at what you do. If you can't fix your own saws, I consider that a basic part of my job, my life. You know, I don't take my saws out. I fix them myself. People bring their saws to me to fix them because, you know, to make up the excuse, I just don't have time. That's just an excuse. You can look at it any way you want. You can argue with me in the comments if you want to argue with me in the comments, but some of the most successful people that I've ever met in across industries. It doesn't just have to be falling trees or trimming trees, but across industries, the most successful people that I've met are very self-sufficient. They're taking care of their own stuff. Could I send all these bands out to be sharpened? Sure I could. What does that do for me? Well, you know, I'll answer, ooh, pick me, pick me. Well, it increases your efficiency. Does it? Does it really? If you're down to your last band and you're waiting, let's say you get into supply chain issues or the person you send them to is grinder breaks. Now, if that person can't fix their grinder and they got to order they've got to order or send it out, what does that do to you? You're dead in the water. I can take all my bands upstairs and sharpen them in an hour. Back to fully functional, if not better. So I think this crosses barriers and lines that if I'm teaching someone how to be successful in this world, what am I going to teach them? Well, the first thing I'm going to teach them is learn what you're doing. You know, you need to learn all these aspects of it. And it doesn't mean that you have to be great at them, but you need to keep progressing. You need to keep getting better. And that your goal should be, I took that tree down the other day and it didn't fall exactly where I wanted, and I wasted a little wood when I cut it up and I was shipping the lumber, or my saw didn't run great, or my chain could cut better. And I want to get better at all those things so that tomorrow those same things don't happen to me, that I get better at what I'm doing. Tomorrow my saw cuts better because I filed it better, and tomorrow my saw runs better because I serviced it and I blew out the air filter and I cleaned it, and my saw runs better because I ran a good fuel oil mix in it, and I ran good bar and chain oil, and I'm not burning up bars. And my saw runs better because I dressed my bar and I took the burrs off and I made it square. And I think those things are important, and I think that if you're not paying attention to those things, you're cheating yourself. I really do. I think you're cheating yourself in business. I think you're cheating yourself in life. If you just want to go through life going to the boss and saying, hey, this saw's busted, give me a new one, and he goes in the back of the truck and hands you a new one and you go back to work, I think you're cheating yourself. I really do. I don't think that you have You might have value to the company because of the amount of trees that you drop in that day, but that's all it is. You have no value to yourself. Now, it's a baby step process. So if you've struggled with parts of your life and you've struggled with addiction or you've struggled with relationships and you've decided that the most important thing to you today is to work on your relationship at home, so you want to get out of work at 4 o'clock and you want to grab some groceries on the way home and maybe pick your wife up something nice. You bring it home with you, or your wife or your husband, depending on which gender you are. And you want to be a good person. And you're working on that. That's admirable. But then as that improves and, where do you go next? What's the next frontier? Where do you look forward to? I think it's a whole package. I think that, I try to be good at home and try to be good in my job too. And I want to learn as much as I do so that people come to me for answers. My saw's not working right. Can you tell me what's up? My chain's not cutting good. Can you tell me what's up? My bandsaw band's not cutting good. Can you tell me what's up? My bandsaw's cutting wavy. Can you tell me what's up? I want to know those answers. I want to be the one that people come to. And I think that what that's going to do is it's going to make me more valuable to my profession and to what I do. So I know this just got crazy long, but it's a rainy Saturday out. I wanted to be milling lumber today for this order. This is a no joke business, guys. The order that I have to mill tomorrow is a significant financial order that's going to take me an hour. I'm going to make more in an hour than most lawyers make, almost double. And that factors into how much you want to learn and how much you want to do. What is the reward for it? If it's the same shitty, I see these arborists all the time talking about how much they make climbing trees. If it's the same shitty $50 an hour that you're making and you think that's great, that's a sad way to go through life. It really is. Because that's $50 an hour is nothing in the realm of life. It isn't. The satisfaction for doing a job and doing it correctly does not have a price value on it. When we do a job for a customer and we look at the end product, there's no hourly wage that can justify the pride that you get in the product that you look at. And in that same respect, when I'm sharpening these bands and I want them to cut flat lumber, when somebody comes to me to buy lumber, as a craftsman, I know all the imperfections. And this crosses every line. You know all the imperfections. And those imperfections are what you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Those are the angst of your anxiety and the demons in your head. You know that if you built a timber frame for somebody and you know that there was a joint that wasn't right, or there was a log that wasn't sound, but you used it anyway, those are the splinters in your brain. Those are the places that you failed. And we fail at everything we do. We can always do it better. And we know that. And this is just a microcosm of it. It's a small example that when I get done with this band, I want to think that, or I want to feel that I did my best job sharpening it. And then when I put it on the mill, the lumber that I'm milling, I want to think that I did the best job milling it that I could. It's not just standing behind the mill and just blowing lumber out. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, I milled 3,000 board feet today. Was it flat? Was it to dimension? Was it good wood? Are you selling stuff that's sound? You know, those are important questions that you have to ask yourself, just like grinding this band. You know, did I just run the grinder through the motions and whatever comes off it, I put on the mill? If your answer to that is no, I could do better, then try to do better. Try to be better. Try to be a better person. If you don't have any idea what 7 degree does versus 10 degree versus 4 degree, or what happens if you put more set in these teeth, or what a specific tree looks like, or what's going to happen to the lumber after it comes off, or where you stacked it, or how you stacked it, or how you stickered it, what the sun's going to do to it, or any of those things. If you don't know the answers to those questions, you need to be asking yourself those questions. You need to be looking for the answers, so that when somebody says to you, you know, how big are those pieces? You can say they're 10'3", so that you can cut the ends off and end up with 10-footers. They're all 5/4. You know, they're not. I worked on a timber frame job not too long ago where a lot of the lumber was thicker and thinner, and you know, those mistakes pose challenges to that job. Does it mean you can't use it? No. Would it be better if it was all uniform? Sure. Sure it would. And that's all you should ask yourself. You know, when somebody comes to me and they're doing a job, I don't know what the job is sometimes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But this job I'm doing tomorrow for the trailer decking, I have to pay attention to the way the tension is in the wood. Because as Robert Milton was just doing a video at Hobby Hardwood about tension, and how he was milling walnut, and how he wants the walnut to tension to come off the mill, and he was saying how he wants them to bow sideways would be better because he can edge it off versus bowing like this. In this particular job that I'm doing for this trailer decking, I would rather the boards bow like this than bow like this. It's going to be easier for the customer, especially this customer, young kid with a landscaping company, to be able to install those boards. If they're bowed like this, he's screwing them down. If they're bowed like this, they're going to cause huge gaps. And he doesn't have the big pipe clamps and the knowledge that I have to put that together correctly. And his product is going to be better if the boards are straight this way than this way. So in watching Robert Milton's video about the lumber that he sells, the hardwood he sells, I understand his point. And he's right that when a woodworker comes in, they don't want a piece of walnut that's bowed like this that they're going to turn into a table, because their ability to run that through a planer is going to take away a lot of the thickness. In my application for this particular job, it would be better for me if they were bowed like this, because it's just getting screwed down. They're not being planed. Bowing this way would be the worst. He's going to have to try to straighten them up against the one that he put in before. So I'm going to have to pay attention to the tension and how they're coming off. I want the tension to be this way off the log and not this way. I don't want boards bowing sideways. I want boards bowing up. bowing down. So that's just an example of how to pay attention to the particular job and think about it. And now if you're out running a production mill, the boss throws a couple of oak logs up, says, I want all these things at 2 inches. You're no thought to it all. You just mill them 2 inches. Done. Stack them. Ship it. I want to be better than that. I want to think about those other things. So, sorry this video got long. I'm going to breeze through the rest of this band so that I have a third band for tomorrow without having to take one out of a box, and get on with my day. Maybe watch a little bit of the girls at the Masters and watch some YouTube videos, and I've got to definitely get at sharpening those trimmers that dropped off that I'm going to have to come up with a setup with to sharpen them, because, you know, last night when they showed up, I was pissed. I was pissed that they dumped all that shit on me. I don't have room for them, so I've got to get to them and sharpen them. It would take forever to go through with a diamond hone and do them. So I'm going to take them apart. I'm going to have to come up with a setup on grinder on a CBM wheel. Get a jig so that it hits them at the right angles and be able to run them. And that's going to be a big deal for me to get those out of here. So, you know, apologize for it getting long, but hopefully this helps somebody think about where you are and what you do. And I'm going to get at the rest of this band so when the wife comes home and everybody wants to take a nap, then I'm done grinding away up here in the upstairs, keeping them up. So thanks much. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you're having a great Sunday. It's April Fool's Day. This is not an April Fool's joke. So hope you have a great one. Thanks for hanging out.